I'm gonna break down how I composited this epic VFX sequence. It might look complex, but it's actually easier than you think. So let's dive in. So first, I'd like to get rid of these guys over here. So I'm going to add a shape mask to isolate the character. This way, I can easily have a clean view of the character and the sky. So the next step, obviously, is to remove the sky. And yep, we all know it. The Chroma Key could easily get that done. But then again, in that video, you might have to deal with some stroke lines around the edges of the subject if the footage isn't detailed enough, or when you have to mask out the subject like I did. So that leaves one question: how do we fix it? So I decided to try something out. I added a basic color correction and tried as much as possible to restore a natural sky color while keeping the character in check. Then I added the RGB curve. I brought down the shadows to add more detail to the character. Now this creates a clearer separation for the keyer to understand. After that, I added a chroma key and changed the key color to blue. Then I tweaked the colors manually to match the current sky color. I increased the alpha values to remove the green spill, then adjusted the green and red intensity to get a more suitable look. So this method only works with chroma key and not Chroma Key. As you can see, even with this process, we still have those annoying stroke lines when the Chroma Key is enabled. So for the final touch, I'm going to add some color grading to introduce more shadows and restore the character's skin tone. With that done, I'm going to add the storm cloud footage as the background and move the clip behind the subject. The footage wasn't long enough, so I had to duplicate it to create more breathing room. I'm also going to keep the timeline more organized and less complicated by adding a group folder and moving both sky footage inside it. Then I will rename the folder Sky. On that, I can add a directional blur to soften it up. So next, we are going to add something that essentially serves as depth, and that is the smoke layer. I changed the smoke color to match the sky, then reduced the intensity and speed values. I also added Gaussian blur to make the smoke blend more naturally into the scene. So now that we are done with this part, next I'm going to add a gradient layer to match the atmosphere palette. With this, I was able to create a natural haze, even though it looks fake. Nevertheless, this combination helped create that real-world dust in the air look. I'm also going to add both layers into a group folder and rename it Distortion. Next, I added a 3D camera and then imported a 3D leaf particle. This helps tell the scale and the air movement of the environment. I also imported the leaf texture and moved it behind the 3D layer and then turn off its visibility. Now I'm going to tweak the speed and rate so the leaves float naturally over time. I enabled custom material and added the leaf texture. I also changed the leaf color to match the environment lighting. Then I increased the scale of the particles. For more realism, I added directional blur to the particles, adjust radius and direction, then turn on turbulence. Now that we're done compositing the atmospheric look, we are going to move to the next phase of this composition, and that's creating the iconic disappearing effect. The first thing I did was to take a snapshot of the main clip at the end of the frame and adjust its duration. Then I went to the fill property and added the speed line effect. I tweaked the settings until I got the look I was aiming for. Next, I changed the color to match the environment lighting, and once that looks good, I added a zebra edge effect. I changed the blend mode to blending and adjusted the spread and distance values to get the right amount of light around the subject. Next, I added the fire effect. I changed the color to match the scene lighting and adjusted the center and intensity where needed. You can also enable the flash in the zebra edge to keep the lighting illuminated. Next, I added the glow effect and adjusted the settings to get the right amount of brightness. Lastly, I added directional blur and adjusted the radius and dispersion values to enhance the look of the subject. And with these simple steps, I was able to create that flashy disappearing effect. And next, I added additional lighting to improve the overall look. I removed the black background using the blend mode and adjusted the size and position so it sits correctly in the targeted area. To add more style to the lighting effect, I applied defined edge. Now this helped create that anime style lighting look, which is actually kind of amazing. Next, I added an adjustment layer and aligned it properly with the caption layer. Then I added the shake effects. As usual, fill the border gaps using whichever style works best for you, and adjust the shake amount to your preference. Since we're dealing with something bright, I enable motion blur, exposure, and the glow. To make everything feel more cinematic, I added a fine adjustment layer and color grading. I pushed the color wheels to build more depth and shadows, giving the scene a more intense and dramatic feel. And with all that said and done, yep, that's how I was able to composite this VFX using not video editor. Thanks for sticking around, and I will see you in the next one. Peace.